Hello everyone and welcome to today's form building webinar. My name is Nick and I'll be walking us through the builder today. Today we will be talking about the repeating section as well as the table widget. And this will also start our new series in the month of March. And during the month of March in these form building webinars, we will be going through each of the elements in the builder and how to use each one of them and what functionality they'll offer you. But we'll go ahead and get started. We'll go down to our My Forms page, and we'll be working off of our FormDr training packet. Click those three dots on the right, and click Edit Forms, which will take us into step one, the Add Forms page. I've already set up a Scratch tab for us, and just as a reminder, the Scratch tab is just going to be a blank area for you to build out a custom form. It will come with a patient name widget by default. We can go take a look at that now by clicking Next to Build. It will come with this patient name widget by default, and that's simply because this widget will be necessary at least once in each packet, just because the information filled out in this first and last name fields, that's going to be the name that the submission comes in as or is logged under. So just make sure to only use that patient name widget to collect the name of the patient or the person's information or person whose information you're trying to collect. Any other names can just be taken with the text field. But we will get a little bit more into the text field and the large text field next Tuesday in our beginner form webinar. But today we will be talking again about the repeating section and the table. Both items can be found down here at the bottom of the formatting section. All right, so we'll go ahead and add one of each of those, repeating section and a table. Now these will look generally the same when you look at them in the builder. They will function a bit differently when it comes to how the patient will interact with them and what you can do with them. But I always like to talk about them at the same time just because they are kind of similar, and it's nice to talk about the differences in them and which one you should use at what time. So first we'll talk about the table widget. Now the table widget is going to be very useful anytime you want to make a table, maybe like an hour sheet or something like that. It will only accept the text field widget and the drop-down widget. All other widgets will not be able to be dropped into this, so you will need to keep that in mind. If you are wanting to collect a date, you will not be able to use the date with that table widget. If you're okay taking the date with just a text field, then that will work just fine. But you'll notice also too that once you drop this in, you won't be able to see that element title. However, you will be able to set that, and then that's going to be that column's heading. So maybe this is some kind of medication sheet. So we could do medication name. Or we'll do medication name. And then we'll go ahead and leave this placeholder blank. I'll show you how this will display a few different ways. We will put some placeholder information in one of our other answer options, but I will leave this one blank. And we have our title changed to medication name. Drop down, it's maybe, I don't know, times a day. And then we could have a few different options here. Dosage. And for this one, I will put mg for milligrams, but I will put some placeholder information in here so you can see how that will be displayed as well. And we'll just leave it at that. We'll go with just those three fields. However, just know that the table can have up to 9 elements in it. So we could have 9 text fields across if we wanted 9 columns. And then we can open up that text field itself. And again, if we want to update any information within, we're just going to hover over that specific element and click that nearest orange pencil icon so that we can get there and update that as needed. But if we wanted to update the table widget itself, we're going to go all the way over to the left of the table widget, click that orange pencil icon, and now we can change this. So maybe this is medication sheet. And then we can change the item label as well, which will also change this button. So we could make this say medication. All right, and then once we're done here, we can go ahead and close that up by clicking done, or that pencil icon, which is now turned white, but we can go to the style page if we click next to style. The style page will always be a live preview of your form, so if you have any required information that you click past, that tag will pop up. But you can also test conditional information here as well, or really anything just to make sure that it's displaying properly for you. But we can come in here and we can enter the medication name. We can select how many times a day, and then we can enter our dosage. And then each time we click the Add Medication button, it will just add another row of cells. And so we'll see that that placeholder information will always be there for that if you choose to use it. If you prefer those cells to be blank, you don't need to put any placeholder information in there. You can just leave that blank for that information and just update that title. But you'll see that the title will only stay at the top of each column, and so that won't populate with each added row of cells. Let's go ahead and go back to the builder. We'll talk a little bit about the repeating section next. The repeating section is a bit different in that you can use any and all elements within it. Just know that this will not format anything. So if we were going to ask for the same type of information, and we were to just place these in here, we'll notice that they stack on top of each other and they're not being formatted. So if we want to format that information, we'll need to place a column widget in there as well. And then we can bring all of this up into our column. And so we'll ask the same questions: medication name, times a day, and dosage. All right, and very similarly, we can update the repeating section widget itself as well by going all the way to that farthest pencil icon to the left, and we'll make this say the same thing, medication sheet. And then we can update our item label here as well, medication. It will update that bottom button. However, it will also have a section header for each one of those sections as well. We can then go to done and next to style. So they will look very similar. However, you will notice that this is going to have different sections with its own title information, as well as a little section header to let you know which medication you're on. Whereas adding fields to the table widget is just going to add another row of cells. And so depending on what kind of information you need, you'll only need to build that section out one time, and then you can ask for it, or the patient can add as many as they need. And oftentimes we'll see this used with medications, current medications, or siblings, because it's, sometimes it's hard to establish what a appropriate default number is to provide for the patients. Now you won't need to do that. And if the patient only has one sibling or two siblings, then they can add just a couple of them. If they have 11 siblings, then they can add as many as they need. And if they do need to get rid of any, if they've added too many, all they'll need to do is click that red X on the right side. Same for the table. Go back to the builder. And I do like the repeating section widget for sections like this, just because of the flexibility that it gives you. Anytime you're wanting to save a lot of space in terms of those title tags or those section headers, you may want to use the table widget. This does also work a lot better when you're asking for hours or things like that, when you just need to add another row of cells for however many days there may be, or however many things you need to collect. But with the medication sheet, you can, or excuse me, with the repeating section widget, you can create entire sections that can repeat. So maybe this isn't a medication sheet. We'll go ahead and get rid of this. And we can do, maybe this is children that are being seen by a practice. We'll just do children being seen by practice. And then we'll change our item label to child. And so then we could have a series of forms that collect information. And also, if you did, for some reason, need separate consent forms for each one of them, you could set that all up in here, and you would only need to do that one time, and they can add as many children as necessary. So again, we could add another column widget. We could ask for that name, maybe their date of birth. And I won't fill these out just in the interest of saving time, but maybe we have a section of patient information that we need to collect, and then we can go ahead and add our simulated consent form. All right. Just a little sample consent here. All right, so we have our consent form. We can have our signature, this parent guardian signature. Let's do parent. And then we can go back to that style page. And so now we can have that parent or that person be able to add multiple series of these mini forms, these smaller sections of the forms, and they can sign for each child that they need to, and they can add the information in that they need to. So you only need to build that section or that form one time. If there are a lot of children coming in on that one submission that you're collecting information for, you can collect as many as needed just by using that one repeating section widget. All right, but again, when using the table widget, you will need to use the text field widget and the drop-down widget, as those will be the only two that will be compatible working with that table widget. If you need to build out a section like this where you would like to use the other widgets as well, then you will want to use that repeating section widget. They can both be extremely useful depending on what your aim is, but I will say that you'll typically find yourself using this repeating section more often than not, just if you are using the date widget or needing to add a consent form or something like that. You can also have conditional information in here as well. So maybe we have another question. We'll open up that question and add some conditional information. Let's leave that out. Let's do a large text field. And then we can go to the style page. And so you could have, multiple conditional elements in here as well without affecting one another. So all very useful, again, depending on what your end goal is. All right, go ahead and open up that chat as well, just in case we do have any questions before we wrap up. I know we are running a little short on time. But if you do have any questions about anything I've gone over, or if there's anything else I can answer for you, please feel free to get those questions in, and I'm more than happy to go back over anything if I need to. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and talk about how to publish the form before we move on from this. I would also like to point out that this will allow you to, the style page will also allow you to update your logo file, or if you wanted to change that background color. If you do know that specific hex key, you can enter that here. Otherwise, you can just use that color picker to slide around and find something that looks nice with that logo that you've uploaded. And if you don't have a logo uploaded, it will just default to your account name. So just keep that in mind. But once the form is ready and we're ready to go ahead and publish that, we'll click that next to publish button. It says publish, but we have one more step to go before that form is live. This is just going to give us one last opportunity to update our packet name if we wanted, or collect any of this other information that we might need from this packet. But once we're ready, we can click the My Account button at the bottom right, or we can click that Finish Building button back to My Account. Both will take you back to the send and receive page. Once you're here, you'll know that those changes have been saved and published. You can then go back down to the My Forms page, and we can click on that public link if we wanted to go see that form that we've created. And we can see that everything is good to go. All right, well, it does not look like we have any questions today, so that will conclude this webinar on the repeating section and table widgets. Just as a reminder, we do host these form building webinars every Tuesday and Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. Tuesday will always be the beginner, Thursday the advanced. That is not to say that the beginner is a prerequisite to join the advanced. We do encourage any and all to join as often as they like. We just get into a little more complicated situations or widgets on the advanced webinar. And then on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we host onboarding webinars at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, and those will go through general use of the account, sending forms, updating users, general administrative duties, things like that. If you would like to keep track of the schedule for this month's webinars, you can go to My Account, Support, and Search Guide. This will take you to our product guide. At the bottom right here, you'll have the FormDr Updates panel. We can click on that, and then we'll have our webinar schedule here. Again, the onboarding schedule won't change too much, and we will be going over the different widgets and their functionality and uses during this month's webinars. So please come to this page to see if there's anything that you would like to be in attendance for. If there is something that you would like to be in attendance for and you won't be able to make it that day, you can always check back on this page at a later date, as we will be posting those after the fact. Once we have completed them and everything, we'll be posting them to our YouTube channel, and you can click on that. It will take you right to that YouTube page, and we'll have some timestamps in there for you as well of what we'll be going over. So please feel free to go check that out at our guide. Keep up with that webinar schedule. And thank you again for joining us today. Hope to see you all again very soon. And if you do have any coworkers or anybody that you work with that you would like to learn this information as well, please send them our way. But thank you very much and have a great afternoon.